Hey guys, I got a story I'm going to tell you, and then I'm going to give you my opinion of recent things I've been seeing on Facebook and beyond that it's going to find pretty interesting. And please, by the way, don't forget to share, subscribe, like, do all that crazy YouTube stuff, and listen to the channel 24/7. Links are on the bottom, and I appreciate it as always.
And now we interrupt, disrupt, and crash this station.
The man fighting for peace, his legacy, truth in a sea of stupid.
Filtered for your sarcastic enjoyment, Ghost Getter.
And as promised, I'm going to tell you a story, and then I'm going to give you my opinion on this whole subject of things. And I'll tell you why. Because, you just got to see it. First of all, let me see if I can turn my computer so I can show you, because it's very limited right now to move things around. Do you see? Let me see if I can get on camera. Do you see this poster right here? I'm going to show you. Now, this is last week. This right here, there is tape here. Well, that. Not important. There's tape here, which, this wasn't here. This boxes, there are 3 boxes. There is this bottle. There's all kinds of stuff sitting on top of this. And I don't know if you can hear me or not, but I'll turn it up so you can hear it. But anyway, I had walked into this room. If I can show you more. I don't know if you can see the door. There's a door right here. And I had walked into this room, sat down, did my computer stuff that I always do, and mainly working on the station, riffraff, things like that. So I get up to leave to go back out this door, and this poster was laying on the floor like this, straight across, but laying on the floor. This whole poster. Now, it's an Aerosmith thing I got from Corpus, I believe. But it was laying completely flat on the floor. Now, if I had walked in here, I would have noticed it because I'm very particular about things, and I would be so upset if I stepped on it and messed it up. I was going to buy a frame, but I haven't bought one yet. So I had it was laying straight across on the floor, so there's no way by the dimensions and everything I would have stepped over it without noticing it. So, and not to mention, while sitting there with my station turned off or turned down, because that's what I do, sometimes I work on bumpers and stuff like that for the station, audio and all kinds of different things to throw in with the music, I would have heard it falling down. I mean, if I give you an example, this is what it sounds like falling. And not to mention, would have heard it hit this, you would have heard it hit the bottle, and so on and so forth, and would have heard it hit the floor. But it didn't. So when I got up, I turned this back to, back to where it was, so it won't. So when I got up, and I thought, that's really odd. Why would that poster be laying on the floor? And mainly it's to get my attention. And I'll tell you why. I started in this field a long time ago, back in the late 90s, what everybody calls now paranormal. They wasn't called that back then. If it was, I've never heard of it. I try to follow everybody's path of what they believe in, and things just wasn't clicking. There were things that just weren't. There were things that just wasn't right. Things that wasn't adding up. So I did for a while, about a year. I did some pretty hardcore research, writing things down, time, mathematics, that sort of thing. Now, what I mean by that is if I heard certain sounds in the place I was living, I would count how often and what time it would happen and what area it was in and why and the environment and all kinds of complicated things. And there were things that just weren't adding up. Again, according to what everybody else was believing in and what everybody else was saying, there were things that just wasn't adding up. There were too many stories of the same ghosts that were over here and the same ghosts that were over there, but something just didn't fit. And I was finding out things that wasn't possible to be true when it comes to other people's ideas. So the more I started doing my own thing and not listening to TV and not listening to newly formed ghost groups or somebody that thinks they know everything by being in the field for 2 years but says they were in the field for 50, I stopped listening to them and started finding that what they're saying didn't add up. But what I was learning growing up was closer to that than what these people were saying. First of all, the other day, and I can't remember what show it was something paranormal. I don't even remember what it was, but I know, I think it was unexplained stuff. But I know Rosemary Island Guiley was on there. Now, she was a self-proclaimed psychic back years ago, but now this woman is a researcher. So what was on TV said that she was a researcher. And everybody had their own ideas of what this was and what that was and where it came from and everything. But it wasn't coming from the research. Where it was coming from was things that they can't possibly know personally. Oh, in the spirit world, this and that and this and that happens. When you die, this and that and this and that happens. All kinds of spirits do this. All kinds of spirits do that beyond the veil, behind the curtain, and all this other stuff. And it got me to thinking, and I was turning and saying, where do you get this info from? Is there a magazine? Did someone teach you? Do you have a degree, associates, a bachelor's, a doctorate? Do you have anything like that? Not just her, but all these people that were making these claims. Where do you get this info from? As far back as I can remember, any research or any info that I got was mainly from the Bible. And I got this info from the Bible that says the dead know nothing. They have no memory. There's no memory of them. Everything is gone once the body dies. I started listening to things like that because there were answers that cannot be explained, such as one major example, which no one's been able to explain yet. There are certain entities that were making voices, saying words, things like that, EVPs, you name it, but they were mocking and imitating people that I know that weren't passed away. Now, first of all, there are those researchers and people in this field that say that there's no such thing as demons. There are those researchers and people that say there are people that are dead, and then there are people that are, there are people that die and become angels, and the people that die and become demons. And again, I say, where do you get this info from? Because it's not in the Bible anywhere. So where do you get this information from? And the same thing goes for what these people are saying, what happens after they die, because it's not in the Bible anywhere. That would be the only research that would give them any kind of answers, because there's nothing else. So that's what certain people believe, researchers, what have you. But there are others out there that say there are people that die, humans, and then there are those like John Zaffis that believe there are human spirits and there are satanic spirits. What gets me, or Satan or demons, but what gets me is that whole Bible verse that says the dead know nothing. There is no memory. They cannot die. They turn to dust. And there are several scriptures that prove this. Now, you can say that you don't believe in the Bible and what it says, like, Chip Coffey, who claims he doesn't believe in it, but then he holds a cross and tries to, exercise places, which makes no sense either. But when you are a person that says that you believe in God and you follow religions and you follow that religion which carries a Bible, then how can you follow that and not listen to what the Bible tells you? Makes no sense to me. But anyway, the point is, there are those out there that no matter what a person says, they still believe that ghosts do exist. Now, there are, it does not matter how much, it does not matter what you say, how you say it, and everything. They still believe it no matter what you do. Now, somebody today said, they posted a thing where they were trying to hire somebody's in the field, pay and internship and all that stuff. And I thought, no matter what you do in this job, you will never get an answer. And the reason is because there is no such thing as people who die and come back. I found that the people that claim that is so, there are more holes in that story than vice versa, than what I'm saying that people do not die and come back. There's too many holes. There's no answers. I have asked time and time again, where do you get your research from? Where do you get these answers from? And they cannot answer it. So I, created the show and did all that and done that for years. And I had more people that were angry or basically said in their own minds or told other people around them, he doesn't know what he's talking about. Don't listen to him. Don't listen to his show. Don't go do this. Don't go do that. Blah, blah, blah. But they still could not debate with me. They still could not argue with what I was saying. And the reason is for two things. One, they do not have answers in their research. No matter how much they try, they will never get answers. So they will continue to do it over and over again and without answers. And two, can't argue with what I said because it's flat in their face. So after all this stuff and all that, I still have trouble. I know what it is. I cannot, take an object like this pen. I can show you this pen and say it's a Sharpie. I'm not advertising. And I can show you the object, tell you the color, black and gray, tell you what it writes, that has a cap and all this. And I marked myself. And I can tell you what this object is and all that stuff. But I cannot physically explain something that's spiritual. I cannot physically explain something that's an entity. This is why you will never have answers. Most of the things that happen while you have cameras will happen behind the camera. Most of the things that you get on EVPs will be maybe one word or a sentence, but they will not be answers to what you have. The photos, you might as well not even bother with that, because photos can be altered. They can even alter them. So there's no true answers to that. I have been followed and bothered by this stuff my entire life. I am to the point where I don't remember a time where I wasn't having trouble. I don't, there are days when I don't have nothing at all, but there are days when once in a while I have things happen just like that poster. I can't say it's somebody in the house, but I have a cabinet, a little shelf over here. It's got all the stuff that I put on it when I travel. I collect things. And some of the stuff was off the cabinet or off the shelves and on the table and not on the shelf. Now, When I came into the room, it was like that. But I don't have proof of that because anyone could have done that. But as far as the poster goes, no one could possibly do that for two reasons. One, no one was home when that happened. And two, I would have heard it. There is a mic and there is headphones, and anything in this room is extremely loud around me. Right now in my headphones, I can hear the TV playing in the other room. Now, if that thing fell off I would have heard it. I would have heard it. Flat out heard that thing fall. So this kind of thing happens to me all the time. There are too many things that happen in my life to say that it was a human being doing it after they died. There is no possible way there are certain things that happen in this world beyond that a human being has done it. A person that has passed on that has done it. Give you another story. And this is complicated, but I'll try to explain it because I did the math on this. I have made three previous videos of gangstalking. Okay, 3 previous videos. I have been, since I went out with this so-called person, and I'm sure they are watching because they're going to watch my every move because they always do. So you're not fooling me. I don't like him, but, they always watch me. I know because they hacked my email once. The math on this cannot be done by a person that's passed on. It can be, but the odds of this happening are just too coincidental. Most of the things that happen to me are way too complicated than just a door shutting or a voice talking or, the average, normal, everyday thing that people go through. Orbs, whatever, someone says. They're a little more complicated than that. And the reason being is because I cannot prove them. When they do this, they know I cannot prove it. They will do it because I cannot prove it, because there's no way to gain evidence of it. That is one of the reasons. The other reason I can't really explain it, it's like saying, like I did earlier, you cannot explain air you cannot see, or an entity you cannot see. You cannot explain something physically coming from a human being, something that is an entity. There's no way to explain it. Although I've had people around me that have witnessed things that I've witnessed with their own eyes that to this day still can't believe it, but they had to have been with me for it to happen. So I'm going to try and do this on my trusty phone here, if you can see it. It's not the best, but I'll try and do it, okay? And without giving away so much of my life, which I don't like to do, I was trying to figure out how to do this video without telling everybody, because I don't like giving away private stuff. It kind of I don't like doing that, because there are a lot of evil people out there that are just looking to hurt others. Okay. As a delivery driver of a van of a company, there are 41 vans. That's 41 times, over the holidays, an average of 41 vans, and there's 41 drivers in a 7-day period. 300 packages on average. That would equal 12,300, and you can't, there it is. 12,000, and I tried to do this, but it's backwards. 12,300 packages a day. That's a day from 41 drivers. Now, I work not only, and this is a company where you're not, when you come in, you can come in at 6, 6:30, 7, whatever. you're not always given a city that you're going to work in. Now, I've worked Garland, Mesquite, Rowlett, Dallas, the Preston area of Dallas, Richardson, Skilmanaw, Dealey area of Dallas. Let's see what else. Saxe, Wiley. These are towns around Dallas that I've worked. So on and so forth. Now, you think about the houses that are in these towns. You're talking by the thousands of houses that are in these towns, okay? So the odds of you getting one particular house are almost impossible. That's almost like if I get a job, if I get a route that's in the town that I live, what is the likelihood that I'll get the package that goes to my house? Just one package. It's nearly impossible because think about it. Not only do you got to go through 12,300 packages in a day. That's one out of 12,300 packages. But the 41 drivers that go to all these different towns in one day, and you're not assigned the same route every day. You're assigned different routes every day you come in there. And you're assigned different towns every day you come in there because it depends on what time you get there. Because 5 people could get ahead of me and they get whatever route is available. So they could have Garland, Mesquite, Rowlett, Saxe in the first 4 routes, and I'm the 5th route. So they hand me the 5th route, and it could be Richardson. So I'm like, okay, well, I'll do Richardson for that day. So in a week span, we're talking, and we clean this up, 12,300 times 7 in a week. That is, let's see if I can get this real quick. That is 86,100 packages in a week. 86,000. Now, if you can take into account, let's say Mesquite, how many, and you don't just deliver to houses, you deliver to businesses, houses, churches, schools, restaurants, the list goes on and on. Whatever is in that town that people order from, we deliver to it. So we're talking thousands of operating facilities in the city of Mesquite, Richardson, whatever. And so you're in a certain area. Let's say I'm in Mesquite and I work the west side of Mesquite. I'm going to stay in the west side of Mesquite, or the east side of Mesquite, or the north side of Mesquite. I'm going to be in that side of Mesquite, Texas. Just depends on what route they give me. There are at least 2 or 3 people, I guess. 2 people. I would say 2 people because I've been to a place where someone in my business has delivered to the same place I did. And that's just the company I work for alone. And you think about the 14, 15, whatever, I'd say I give it about maybe 5 to 8 other companies that have 41 drivers as well that go to the same areas that I do, and vice versa in different towns, whatever. McKinney, and some of them go to the city I go to, whatever. You take into account their packages as well. This is just my company alone. What are the odds that I get a package that goes to that one particular house of the person that I used to know that I've claimed has been gang stalking me? What are the odds that I get that house? We're talking 81,000 packages in a week. The likelihood and the random lotto numbers of me getting that house is probably very, very unlikely that I will get. Because you're thinking about, too, the people that live in that house or business or wherever that's going to order, because they don't order every single day. You're thinking about maybe every week or every month. Some people do order every day because they're that, crazy about ordering stuff online. They're just so, But the likelihood, for the most part, I'd say 95% of people do not order every single day. So what are the odds that I get that person that lives in that house that gang stalked me? What are the odds? Think about it. Okay, getting back to the paranormal side of that, my biggest issue that I have that really, and they attack marriages, they attack any kind of thing to bring you down, they will do it. Anything that you know that is the biggest thing that you hate, the thing that hurts you the most, something that's going to really, really destroy you emotionally or physically, they will do it. They know secrets that you don't even know, you didn't even know you had. So that day I figured it out, that I have something that I didn't know I had inside of me. So I deliver to this particular house. And by the way, judging by what I've seen on the package and who lives in that house, they don't live there anymore. Apparently, they moved away. That could be the reason why I don't have problems lately, because they moved out of town. So that's pretty coincidental that these things seem to have stopped after they moved away. But that's not the biggest problem. The biggest problem is if I think that there's something that cannot bother me, they will find something that will bother me. These so-called entities will do that. When I was homeless, there were certain things that I felt. There were certain feelings that just felt like destroyed me. There was a particular time when I was homeless, and I'm sorry this is a long story, but it makes sense. When I had those packages that day, it just so coincidentally that day that I had the package to that particular house, I not only had that house, but I had 4 other houses paired together with that one house. 3 other houses, so that the house makes it 4. So I not only had to deliver to that house, but I had to sit there on that street and go from this house to that house to this house to that house and sit there for about 5 minutes and take in and soak it in all the bad things that I felt. I couldn't just, and this is what I do, you know, I've timed it. I'll go from my house to the van and it'll take me about 30 seconds at the most. And I'll, take it, run to the place, drop it off, take a picture, swipe it, and come back to the van and take off. And that may be 30 seconds at the most, depending on how far the house is. But I had to sit there in front of the house with this van because as soon as I got there, I had to drive up to the house because it said on the thing that it's this address, but it had 3 other houses I had delivered to, one across the street, one next to it, and one across the street from that one. So I had to sit there and go from that to that to that to that. Coincidence? What I was feeling when I stood up on that porch, and I thought to myself, I haven't stood on this porch in 25 years or more. What I felt when I stood up on that porch was the day I was sleeping in my car and said to myself, I don't want to live. I just want to die. Please just let me die. Is it so hard to do that? I just want to die. It's not so much as the memory, because I sort of remember thinking that way, sort of remember saying that. It's the feeling that I remember. And I remember how horrible it felt and how it was one of the worst feelings I could ever feel in my life, next to what I talked about last week in my video. But I remember it was one of the worst feelings I can possibly feel. Just wanting to die. I just, wishing for it. I just want to die. And I remember feeling that bad. And I remember thinking, this is the worst that I've ever felt. And I've forgotten about how it feels to do that, to bring me down that bad. This is what they do. What are the odds that I was going to get that house out of the thousands of packages that particular day with that particular package 30 years after I met this person? What are the odds that it's not in the universe? That is not just a coincidence. Not to mention finding out that I don't have to go through this anymore, that this person moved away. And I'm like, woohoo! I felt a sense of freedom finally for the longest time, because that, I just can't explain it, because that sense of being, and it's not just the person, it's the fact that when I was homeless, this is why I am so angry. It's not angry because they walked away from me like so many other people did when I became homeless, because I blame a lot of that on me because I made bad decisions. So I'm not angry at that because, a lot of it was my fault. I'd say some people were pretty weak because they just like turn tail and say, well, I'm not your friend anymore. But I'm not angry about that. It doesn't bother me. What bothers me is that I was taunted when I got back on my feet and fighting to, this is why I do things in 20 to 30 seconds. This is why I am determined, persistent, and force myself. And the fact that I fell once and fractured both my tibias and got up and still worked with fractured tibias, I will be determined not to give up no matter how much pain it is. Since I was homeless and got back on my feet, this is the things that I've done. And to have somebody be taunting me for 20-something years and taunt me because of that, or to try to get me back into that, or whatever the reason is, I don't know, is horrible. For them to do that's horrible. This is why I'm mad. This is why I'm always angry at this person. This is why I can't be a hateful person, because I'm not. I am not a vengeful person. But for them to do that and finally feel the freedom of like, oh, I don't have to worry about that anymore. I don't feel as bad anymore. I don't feel horrible anymore. And then to stand up on that porch and feel that emotion again of what that day, the first thing that popped in my head was sleeping in my car and feeling like I just want to die. Was a horrible feeling. And it's just too coincidental that particular moment, standing up on that porch, I felt like that. It's too coincidental. It's not possible. But these are the complicated things that they do to destroy me. These are the complicated things they do to come after me. So there is no way in this planet that this comes from a dumb ghost that has been around for 15 years or 75 years as a human, that opens and closes a door or makes a noise or makes footsteps and such and things like that. This is more complicated than you could possibly put into your head. More complicated. And I stood there, and by the way, the end part of it is, I stood there and thought to myself, okay, all right, it's time to tell the truth about everyone. Okay, all right. Anyway, make a long story short, this is the complications that I deal with all the time. It's more than just your average, ordinary stuff. And I do appreciate those of you out there that do come to me when you have issues, because it doesn't happen very often anymore, because there are those out there that don't want the truth. No matter what you tell them, it's never good enough. But once in a while, I do have people that do come to me, and I do appreciate that, because, they appreciate my honesty. I'm not going to tickle their ears, and I'm not going to do it to get on TV, and I'm not going to do it to make money. I'm not going to do it for this and that. They know my complete honesty, and I do appreciate them coming to me for that. So these are the complicated things that I deal with. So in the long story, who would you believe? Somebody on TV that's going to tell you, oh, here's what happens in the spirit world after you die, that doesn't have an answer, that can't tell you where they got this information from? Or you're going to believe what I can show you proof of, as far as what it says in a book? Things like that. the actual Bible that's been around for thousands of years compared to some John Doe that's wrote a book about 10 years ago. They don't really have answers either. That can't back up his research with either facts or resources. Can't give you the resources of his research. So in the end, I would say when someone asks you or tells you a story in this field, please, even if you don't want to embarrass them or yourself by saying, where do you get this research from? Go try to get the research yourself. You'll be surprised where you'll get your answers. You'll be surprised what you come up with. Because if you cannot come up with what they said, if there is no true answer to what they're telling you, then guess what? They're not telling you the truth. They're not telling you anything that they've learned. They're just making it up as they go along. And by the way, these paranormal information is actually in the Bible. You just have to find it and read it to understand it, but it's there. You may not like the truth, but it's there. But like I said, in the end, if no one can tell you where they got their research from, if you still feel there's too many holes, and if you still feel this isn't right, I don't feel right about it, then get out. Find your true answers, and you will get them. I appreciate everybody listening. I know it was a long video, and I do like to tell the story as it is. I'll tell you more later as I go along. I thought the Gangstalking thing was pretty weird. Even when they're not around, I still have problems with them. That just goes to show you. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe, and listen to the station. And I thank everybody for being on here. And until next time, see ya. Hey everybody, don't forget to check out Reverse 96 FM on TuneIn, Streema, and now InternetRadio.com.